I mean, look, it's been an absolute debacle for the Democrats. Why do you think it's been such a crushing defeat?
Honestly, I think that I understand that we have to keep our jobs and we have to make sure that our jobs are important by telling people how important they are. But I think the real answer, because all the analysis was done earlier by all these panelists, especially Roger Stone, who's an American trader, was absolutely ludicrous. I think the actual answer is Americans just kind of vote based on the economic vibes they feel. I think that when Biden won in 2020, it was because COVID. Everybody felt horrible. The economy was like everything was crazy, not just the economy. Everything was crazy. So people voted for Biden. I think that when Biden came in, I think we had a lot of inflation early on. People still feel the cumulative effects. So then they vote Trump. I think it's probably as simple as that. You can try to like reach to all of these other things, but like basically every other point brought up earlier was just factually completely and totally ridiculous and incorrect. The idea of like weaponizing the DOJ and then bringing up New York State. The fact that Donald Trump has done every single thing that you guys earlier were accusing the Biden admin of doing, except like 20 times worse. I don't think at the end of the day, Americans don't care about that. If you talk to an average person, they're not going to tell you about the Department of Justice is weaponizing, blah, blah. They're just going to say like, man, shit's expensive right now. Fuck. And that's about it, I think.
I mean, that is partly true, certainly on the economic part. I agree with you. And I think I would add immigration and the southern border crisis as being a major added component to that, because people resented the fact that not only could they not afford to feed their kids, but there were all these people coming in illegally on the border and putting extra pressure on public services and taking jobs and so on. I think you can't discount that.
That's not.
Well, you would discount it, but I wouldn't.
No, I would discount it because the Republicans discounted it. If the border was a huge issue, then the border bill wouldn't have been shut down. They would have negotiated harder on it. But they didn't. They shut it down because they knew it wasn't a real issue. People care about things like the border and immigration because Republicans told them to care about things like the border and immigration. The reality is unemployment is incredibly low. If you want a really big like top line takeaway from this whole thing that would be interesting that nobody will discuss because it's incredibly boring, perhaps the Federal Reserve targets politically should actually target things like inflation more than unemployment. Maybe on a political level, maybe it was worth it to suffer 8 or 9% unemployment rather than so aggressively trying to target an inflation figure and keeping unemployment low. Maybe, but that's a macro econ question.
When you get a result like this, Destiny, notwithstanding your chilling self-confidence, which I obviously admire as a trait, do you have a moment of self-awareness where you just go in the mirror, wow, I was so wrong?
Do you think that the Republicans had a moment of self-awareness in 2020?
Well, it wasn't the question. I just wonder whether you had a moment of self-awareness.
And I try to analyze what the public is. But this idea that like the Democratic Party needs to do some huge soul searching after the Republicans, tried to coup their way back into office when they lost the last election. Nah, I think that's ridiculous. I think the double standard is ridiculous. I think that the passes that you guys give Trump are absolutely insane. I think at the end of the day, it's just voting on your general economic trends. The only tragic thing is that because the economy has been righted in such a positive way, and nobody knows it because nobody talks about it, but the United States is outperforming basically every other country in the world on metrics like inflation, on metrics like unemployment, on metrics like real wages. Now that the ship has been righted, we're in a situation again where thankfully a Republican can come in after a Democrat has, I complained about this before in your show, after a Democrat has righted the ship after an economic catastrophe. Trump did it after Obama, and now Trump is going to do it again after Biden, and now he can try to take credit for all the things that he wasn't able to do in his administration, right? He couldn't pass infrastructure. Biden did. Now when stuff is getting built, he's going to take credit for it. He couldn't bring manufacturing like chips back to the United States when he tried to tariff China. Biden did with the CHIPS Act. Now Trump could take credit for it as that stuff gets built. So, the cycle of politics continues.
When you realize that Trump had won the White House, the Senate, probably the House, he's going to get another 2 on the Supreme Court probably. In other words, a complete clean sweep. He won the popular vote as well as the Electoral College. Did you cry?
No, I'm not. But I'm not a crier. If I was more emotional, maybe I would have.
Not a tear? Nothing?
I mean, I was streaming all night. If there were any tears there, you would have seen them.
Destiny,
I will say though, I haven't seen any Democrats try to take over the Capitol building. We'll see on January 6th. Maybe I shouldn't hold my breath, but we'll see.
Well, actually, the odd thing actually has been the singular lack of protest. I mean, I felt this at Madison Square Garden when I went to that rally, and the Secret Service told me they were expecting thousands of protesters, and 150 people turned up. And I've been really struck being in New York. There've been no protests whatsoever at this thumping Trump win. It's nothing like 2016, which makes me think the Democrats massively miscalculated in trying to continue to play the he's Hitler and blah, 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 because that's not what people are clearly feeling, or they really would be out in mass protests.
Sure, but I think Democrats are also able to lose elections. Conservatives can't, right? Because we're a little bit more grounded in reality. Like the election outcome is either we win or we lose. On the conservative side, the only outcomes are we win or it was rigged. You saw it, and no Republican that you ever bring on this show will ever admit it. But Donald Trump said that the election was rigged this year. This like 2 days ago, he was literally saying, we pulled up the tweet as the Philadelphia votes were started to roll in. He was saying voter fraud in Philadelphia. I saw people tweeting out that in Detroit, they're bringing in the vote dumps or whatever. So they were calling it rigged before they had any evidence, just like he called 2020 rigged with no evidence. They still believe it was rigged, just like he called 2016 rigged because he didn't win the popular vote. So, I mean, like, yeah, when the election can only be rigged or when the election, is going to be won, of course, they're going to be more prone to throw a temper tantrum than the Democrats are.